I'm going to show you exactly how I would learn Italian if I could start over today, so that you can make fast progress in your Italian without wasting months getting stressed out by things that feel much harder than they need to. Because after 25 years of learning languages and teaching thousands of people Italian, I've noticed that the people who succeed with the language are not smarter or more talented, and they definitely don't have more free time. They just get a few important things right from the beginning, and I'd love to help you do the same. So in this video, I will show you the exact 5-step path that I would follow to learn Italian from zero, what I would focus on first, what I would ignore, and how I would make real progress in less time than you'd think. And the best part is, this works even if you're busy, even if you're not flying to Italy, and even if you've never tried Italian before. But first, there's one big mistake I would avoid, one that I didn't even know I was making the first time round, and it's the one that matters most. See, when I learned Italian back in 2018, it went really well. I'd set myself this 90-day experiment. I filmed the whole thing and put it on YouTube, and before long, I found myself in Venice. I took a flight to Venice to prove that I could actually speak it. I was hanging out in cafes, chatting to Italians. I was getting by just fine, and I remember thinking, all right, well, this actually works. It was great. And normally, that's where things really begin. You then go off and use the language and the rest of your life, right? But for me, that was pretty much the peak, because I went back home to the UK and I wasn't sure who to speak Italian to. See, no one around me spoke Italian, and so I didn't either. And one day, I realized I'd gone weeks or even months without thinking in Italian at all. Now, over the years, I've watched loads of people do exactly the same thing, because they had the dream. Imagine if I could speak Italian, but they actually didn't make space for it in their real, ordinary life. The people who actually keep the language usually have something more concrete. They've discovered Italian cinema and want to watch iconic movies like My Student Frank, Italian-American actually, so that alone was a reason, but he was determined to watch those Italian movies.
Io scelgo I miei amici per il loro aspetto e I miei nemici per la loro intelligenza.
Another student might be planning a 6-month sabbatical to Puglia, or they've got some Italian friends who meet up at Venice Beach once a week, the one in California. Whatever it is, Italian has somewhere to live in their life, something pulling it in from the outside, because that's the trap with Italian, especially outside Italy. Yes, it's gorgeous, it's fun, it comes alive very quickly, but it doesn't chase you around the neighborhood like Spanish often can. It's up to you to give Italian a place to live in your life. So if I could start over, this is where I would begin. I would get very, very clear on what Italian was going to do in my life, because once that's in place, the rest of the plan actually has somewhere to go. And then the first thing I would do is dig into the most fabulous secret that Italian has for beginners, which is all of the Italian words that you already know without even realizing it. Because Italian actually gives us English speakers an absolutely ridiculous head start. Romantico, fantastico, misterioso. You understood those words, right? Well, that's because Italian is packed with cognates, which are words that look and sound like English ones. And you want to learn these ones first. See, Italian and English, we go way back. Italian comes straight out of Latin, and English spent centuries gobbling up Latin words from emperors, monks, and posh Europeans. So there are all these basic patterns running through Italian. And once you start spotting them, you realize you're not starting from zero at all. Take, for example, English words ending in IC, like magic. In Italian, you just add an O on the end. Magico, classico, fantastico, just like that. And words ending in OUS, like curious, well, you just change the ending to OSO. So curioso, famoso, misterioso. There are thousands of these things, and it's not even cheating. It is what it is. Now here's where it gets fun, because once you've got the patterns, you will start understanding whole sentences if they have a few cognates in them. Everything from serious problems down to adorable penguins. And believe me, recognizing words like these from day one takes a huge chunk of the stress away. In my Italian course, I actually chuck you in the deep end on day one with a scientist, an archaeologist, and a linguist. But you'll get it, and that's the lovely thing about Italian. Very quickly, it stops feeling completely foreign. Now, patterns and cognates are just step one. There's a lot more coming, and it all needs a place in your week. And that's the bit that too often trips people up, because you got a job, you got a family, you got a Wednesday night spin class, just like me. Not the spin class, but you know what I'm saying. Where exactly is Italian gonna fit in? So before we go any further, I wanna give you something that's gonna make this whole plan way easier to do, and it's called my language goal planner. It's just 2 pages, really simple. You can print it out, fill it in, it takes 10 minutes, and it helps you turn these 5 steps I'm giving you here into a simple weekly routine that works for you. You will write down exactly where you're at with Italian right now, what your 90-day goal is, and what you're actually going to do each week, which is much better than just hoping that Italian happens, Because, spoiler alert, it doesn't unless you do something about it. There's even a little daily tick box for every day that you show up. Don't sneer at the tick box thing. That little hit of, yes, I did it, is what gets you coming back tomorrow. Anyway, Gold Planet is free. The QR code is on the screen for you to scan with your phone if you would like, or you can click the link in the description. Print it, stick it on the fridge, you know what to do. Because next, Italian's about to come at you very, very fast.
Il imperatore di Roma la prossima volta suicida onde evitare la fine indecorosa che i senatori una volta sui schiavi avrebbero certamente decretato. Un soldato a tutta prova di pietà devota cosa veste volle fermare il sangue che sgorgava dalla gola trafitta, Romano morente lo respinse e, con un resto di impero negli occhi, disse troppo tardi.
Yep, this is the moment that Italian humbles absolutely everybody, because all of those lovely cognates feel fantastic right up until an actual Italian says them at full speed. And suddenly the language you were feeling quite smug about a minute ago turns into one long, beautiful blur, which is why listening is one of the hardest skills right at the beginning. And your instinct at that point is usually just to keep replaying the audio and hope that your ears magically catch up. But Italian is moving too fast for that at first. Let's face it, Italians don't speak in neat little separate words. They speak in these gorgeous cascading rivers of sound, which is why we love it in the first place, right? Your brain is somehow supposed to work out where one word ends and the next begins and attach meaning to all of those words all in real time. Of course, you can't do that yet. See, the issue with listening is that it's all in real time, which means to study it is difficult because you haven't got the control to separate out all the different parts. And so this is where reading comes to the rescue, because reading slows Italian right down. You're at your own pace. You can stop, look back, actually see the language, spot those penguins and mysterious scientists all over the shop. It's also why I'm such a big fan of reading with audio at the same time. You've just got to do this, because once your eyes and ears start working together, Italian suddenly becomes much less slippery. Your brain starts matching sounds you hear to spelling on the page. And Italian is honestly one of the nicest languages for this, because most of the time, what you see is basically what you say. There's none of this funny business like in French, where spelling just ambushes you at every corner. In Italian, you read café and you pretty much say café. And even at a simple level, the sentences work a lot like English. Io voglio un caffè. I want a coffee. Subject, verb, object, done. Dead simple. And I promise you, reading teaches you so much Italian much faster than people realize. So if I was starting Italian again today, I would get my hands on some really good stories at my level that come along with audio. Now, as a complete beginner, that's going to be in a textbook of some kind, or our Story Learning Italian course, for example, which is based on stories. That's where you're going to get simple dialogues, simple stories to follow along with. But as soon as you get past the basics, then you want to read short stories like our series of books that come with audio, so that you can listen along, follow along on the page. First time round, you might only catch half of it, maybe less, but then second pass, third pass, it starts feeling completely different. Before long, you're reading sentences that you can actually follow and almost imagine yourself saying. But eventually, Italian wants something back from you, and that's where things start to get really interesting. So let's talk about the bit where perfectly intelligent adults, there might be one of those around here somewhere, start getting in their own way, and that is Italian grammar. See, up until now, everything's been really fun. You're reading, you're listening, you're recognizing words, and then suddenly there are verb endings everywhere, little gender rules popping up left, right, and center, and people online moaning about conjugating the subjunctive or something like that, whatever that is. And next thing you know, you're out at dinner with some Italians that you met, trying to remember if spaghetti is masculine or whatever, while they're asking if you'd like another glass of wine. And by the way, the answer is yes, you just say si. Well, it's very easy at that point to start overthinking the language completely, and that's the ultimate paradox, because if you're scared of mixing up your tenses, your grammar book in your bag is not going to be of any use to you. It'll just start feeling like a sack of rocks. So instead, you have to let the grammar come to you. You see, if you get obsessed with grammar too early, like in almost every language class out there, you stop interacting with Italian naturally. You start trying to control every sentence instead of just understanding more and more over time. I remember in my first month listening to loads of Italian, I kept hearing these tiny little words pop up consistently. C'è, ne, ci. And at first I didn't really understand them properly or what they were doing, the grammatical. I didn't really know what they were. But after hearing them over and over again, I started getting a rough feel for what was going on. For example, I'd often hear a phrase like ce l'ho, which means I've got it. And eventually I was like, hang on, what's that little chair actually doing there? So I looked it up and it all made sense. But the looking up came after hearing it and reading it a bunch of times. What I understand now is that grammar works best when you are clearing up something that you've already half figured out by yourself through listening and reading, not by studying grammar rules first. And so if I were starting Italian again today, I would keep a textbook nearby. Sure, I'll have it there, but I'm not going to go through it and try and memorize the rules. It's there for me to look up when I really want to unblock something in my understanding. And the second I feel myself getting tangled up in grammar, I close the book, chuck it out the window, and go and watch a movie or something. Trust me on this one, grammar sorts itself out over time. All you have to do is not let yourself get obsessed over it and think that grammar is the be-all and end-all of language. It is not. But even when you're doing all of this right, there's only one thing that's going to get you from zero to fluent. Because at some point, Italian has to stop being something you only understand and become something that you can actually use. And I'm terribly sorry to say, that means you're going to have to, that's right, speak it. But speaking is easier than you think. And yeah, this is the awkward part, because now Italian isn't safely stuck inside your AirPods anymore. It's coming out of your mouth in front of another human being, and there's a fair chance your brain will leave the building. So if you've learned a bit of Italian and you're sitting there thinking, Olly, I'm not quite ready, but give me another 4 or 5 weeks and then I'll be ready to speak. Let me save you the trouble. You are not going to feel ready in 4 weeks. I'm sorry, not even 5 weeks. Readiness is a fairy tale we tell ourselves to delay the embarrassing bit, and it's completely normal. It just means that Italian is about to get very, very real. But this is where all that reading that you've been doing, you have been doing that reading, haven't you? This is where that reading pays off, because by now, your brain's already so full of Italian, you know what it sounds like, you've seen the patterns over and over. So even if your speaking's a bit clumsy at first, your brain already has plenty to work with. And honestly, that horrible feeling of panic dies much faster than you think. A few conversations in, you suddenly realize, oh, I can actually survive this. And that moment changes everything. And here's the thing, if you stick at all 5 of these steps about an hour a day, most days, you're looking at roughly 6 months to hold a proper conversation in Italian. Not a fluent one, but a real one, with laughs and everything, where you actually understand what's going on. So again, if I was starting Italian from scratch today, I'd take all of that friction and just chuck it out the window. I would go online, I would find a tutor or language partner, and I would start speaking this week. Because somewhere in Italy right now, there is a lovely Italian woman called Laura, perfectly happy to chat to you for half an hour for the price of a coffee. You don't need a plane ticket, you need Wi-Fi and a bit of courage. And if you need help there, I recommend you check out tutors at a company called LanguaTalk. They do a great job of filtering tutors to be actually good and helpful. And remember to keep those first conversations deliberately low pressure. Your one and only goal is just to show up and say something, even if it's just, I don't know, ho un cane che si chiama Bruno. I've got a dog called Bruno, and if your dog isn't called Bruno, well, that's a real shame. But look, those early conversations are not about speaking in correct Italian. They're about realizing that people will understand you anyway, even if you completely screw up. Now, tiny thing while we are here, Italian pronunciation is very forgiving. It's clean, it's musical. Your mouth wants to do it, but I would still get a bit of feedback from a teacher early on just to catch the sneaky stuff.
Nunca dovevo scriverlo prima.
Nunca. È spagnolo.
Yep, a nice teacher like Martina will catch that stuff in 5 minutes, and then you will do it the right way for the rest of your life, unless your name is Olly, in which case you will continue to mix up the pronunciation of Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian, probably until the day that I die. Anyway, here we are, the step that pulls everything together, and the one that decides whether you are still speaking Italian a year from now. Remember the lesson that I had to learn the hard way when I got back home to the UK? Nobody to speak Italian to? Well, that's exactly what I'm working on hard right now in my language learning. If I want to keep up a language or maintain it, I make sure to have people locally that I can speak to, and I can enforce that routine of meeting them and speaking in the language. Because here's the truth about any language, really. Studying the language, learning the language gets you off the ground, but there's only so far that you can go if all you ever do is stay in study mode. If you want your Italian to stick, you've got to build it a home. And if you don't, then sooner or later, it stops coming around for tea altogether. So if I was starting Italian today, this is the part that I would do on purpose from the very beginning. Build 1 or 2 places in my life where Italian is the default language I use for that thing. And it could be a weekly call with the same Italian friend where we don't practice, we just chat. a series on Netflix that I only watch in Italian, building up to those Italian movies, maybe a podcast that's always on when I'm out for a run, an Italian recipe night cooked from a real Italian website that I have to read in Italian. Just imagine that, sounds pretty nice. And my favorite one, I'd find an aperitivo group in my nearest city. Basically happy hour with snacks and Italian people. They exist, by the way. Go there, tell them your Italian is terrible, they will love you for it. And if I zoom right out, here is the whole 5-step path that I would follow today if I was going to start Italian from scratch. I would first of all get my goal planner out, print it, keep it handy, link in the description if you'd like a free copy, and then first I would lean hard on patterns and cognates in Italian. Then I would read and listen to loads of Italian, reading and listening together right from the beginning. I would leave grammar well alone until I actually needed it or was so curious about something that I had to look it up. I'd start speaking much earlier than felt comfortable, and then I would build Italian into my actual life. People, TV shows, podcasts, aperitivo meetings or whatever they are. Whatever makes Italian stick around like a housemate, not a visitor, which honestly is where it stops feeling like learning Italian and starts feeling more like you've got an Italian life. And there is one more part of all of this that will make a massive difference to your Italian, and it's not included in these 5 steps that I just gave you. It's not in any beginner course that I know of, but once you've seen these 7 Italian cheat codes, well, you can't unsee them and your Italian will never feel as difficult again. I'll show you these 7 cheat codes in this video right here. Don't miss it.